So recently, there was an article published online about CPS and the how we handle mental health at Princeton. And I quote, CPS not only suffers from overbooking and understaffing, but is entirely incapable of providing treatment when it comes to mental disorders. The university's ultimate solution to all mental health problems is an involuntary leave of absence. Now, what is your reaction to that?
As somebody who has been working here for a really long time, I would say that, look, there's a student out there who's feeling terrible, right? And that's really what I'm feeling as you have read that. I do think that that's an outlier and an unusual occurrence. My experience has always been, and I really mean always, that we've worked very diligently to ensure that students with mental health issues who want to be in school can be in school.
So what is your reaction to that?
I will begin by saying that CPS does a lot of great work, and we're glad that we even have a CPS, but the line that students who want to be in school can be in school puts the blame and the shame on the students, and he was doing fine up till then, but then he took a far left turn for the worse, so that really pisses me off. I just remember my freshman year seeing that someone tried to commit suicide and they were deemed unfit for this campus, and I'm sure with any sort of mental illness that stigma exists, be it with administration or even with peers around us here, because people just really fail to get it.
For the most part, that's really true, and a lot of the times, I guess the more sensationalized or the stories that people hear about most often are the ones that are really, really negative. You don't really hear about people like really being very public about like positive experiences with CPS.
So one of the biggest issues at CPS is that the wait times are really long, and this is due to the fact that we are understaffed. Is it due to funding? Why are we so understaffed, and why do we not have enough funding?
That's the one question that's probably been fighting the hardest for since freshman year. I mean, research times have now been reduced to 1 week, which is incredible. It was 4 weeks freshman year. But Harvard's is 48-hour turnaround for intake employment, and that is new, but get with it, Princeton. First off. Second off, it's due to funding. But with an endowment as large as ours, there's no excuse that CPS is one and maybe a half floor that shares literally one wing of an entire floor when there's such a prevalence of sexual assault and domestic violence on this campus. There's no reason why some group therapy has to occur in the basement of McCosh. There's no reason that we have to have infirmary rooms look like we're in a psych ward. There is no excuse for this. Funding is available. Long story short, we need to be able to have a chance to actually talk to the people that are controlling the funding and the resources to get the help we need.
I really think that there's a limiting factor for like physical space. If you've ever been to CPS, like the actual office space, like you can't expand anymore. McCosh is what it is. Like I guess in the like long-term planning of the new campus, like how we're expanding out, like that's going to be redone, and hopefully like the entire health center will be bigger and like we'll be able to fit more actual counselors. But right now, like if you look at the physical space, even if we were to hire more counselors, like where would we put them? And that's why we have the satellite offices coming in the fall.
What do you think about the idea that the university is responsible to educate you and not to take care of your mental health?
That's just putting the burden back on students, and we already have enough responsibilities here. Yes, I have to take care of myself, but the institution is supposed to support us in our academic and extracurricular support. So otherwise, what are they doing? Just taking our money and giving us classes to go to? It is their job to provide support and resources, not just McGraw. I'm talking well-being. No, it is not their job to walk our hands and to have us on those little children baby leashes you see nowadays, but it's their job to make sure that we are in a fit enough position to represent the school well, but also to want to be here.
I think that this is more than just a place of education. This is our home for 4 years. It falls under health. Like mental health is not just like our it's our well-being. Like, how can you possibly be a fully functioning student doing your best if your mental health needs are not addressed? It's not just like a little part of you that you can just, put away and ignore.
How do you think we can create an open dialogue about mental illness, and how do you think we can take that stigma down?
I struggle with mental illness and mental health, and with getting support due to cultural stigma and also personal stigma. So I thought if I open up, others will be able to open up to me at least. People can come trust me because I've been there too, and I still am. And so creating that sort of empathy on an interpersonal level helps create larger scale cultural change. It's easier it sounds pretty, and I can say those big words, but ultimately it's about the issue, like encouraging people to open up and say, hey, but also like to anyone who's going to watch this, if they do, I don't care if you're busy, we're all busy. So don't ever, please, in your 4 years here, say, oh, I'm busy, let's try to do another time. I promise you that other person might be busier than you are, and you can make that 1 hour of time to talk to them. The people here are the most important part of your experience, so if you can do one thing here, is to be a good friend and a good peer.
So I really think that it takes people in like high visibility positions. That's why I make it very clear that, I'm a beneficiary of the system. I go to CPS.
What is the ideal sort of system that Princeton should include in order to, better mental health issues on campus?
We need to hire more counselors and psychiatrists, so that just means funding more. It's on the administration, on the universities. But we also need to hire more people of color and LGBT and people with trauma training in CPS to actually help students process the tools they need. We need that for SHARE as well, just more people. Why do we only have 3 counselors for sexual assault? We need more. Even if you're on the student health plan, you have to pay a copay. A copay of $10 to $20, whatever, is still money that you have to pay when you can't even afford meals, sometimes independent of the plan you have. If you can't meet their support here, if you can't meet the demand here, help them go off campus and get the support they need. That's the least you can do. So ultimately it comes back to money and power.
I think that it really comes down to the change in the culture so people feel comfortable about using the resources, and also increasing the resources so there actually are resources that we can use. Making actual office spaces. Also, I really do like the idea of having having the center hub of CPS, but also having satellite offices in the residential colleges.
So we have alcohol EDU, we have not anymore, but what about a program that introduces, especially incoming freshmen, to mental health?
Freshman year, there was no portion of freshman orientation dedicated to mental health. The year after, it was 10 minutes, and finally we have a full hour. Do students remember that? Of course not, but I don't blame you. You're falling asleep, you're anxious, like what are you supposed to remember everything from the SHARE play and mental health? No. So I don't care if future students can access their course evaluations, to access their grades. If you have to take this program, it's important. We just need to educate ourselves.
And what is USG doing to help with mental health on campus?
So really, the one thing that USG directly has under its control is like really changing and shaping the narrative on campus. Like, we can't force anyone to like bring more money to CPS. Like, we can advocate for it, which is obviously what we're doing.
Any last remarks?
I'd say the biggest piece is for all the drawbacks and imperfections of mental health culture here and the institution itself, there are so many ways to get help here. And as someone who's been there and has encouraged friends to go there, please reach out to someone if you're too scared to walk up those steps or don't know how to get an appointment. There is support. There are emergency appointments. There's an on-call counselor 24/7. People don't know this. The infirmary is a great resource. If you don't feel safe, check in for a night. Do what you need to do to feel on stable ground, even if it's a Band-Aid solution.
When people are like, oh, are you okay? And like, if you really aren't fine, like maybe not saying, oh, I'm fine. I would say putting back the onus on the administration is, yes, you can recognize that mental health, like we need more resources, but please, like, I know you're doing something. Please, like, try harder.
Have you ever used CPS?
No, but I probably should.
No, I have not.
Yes.
I have.
Yes?
Why not?
I don't know, I just don't have time.
I just really haven't had the time to.
I just personally feel like I don't have enough time in my schedule. I'm really bad at doing things that are good for me.
You don't have time.
Yeah.
So it's not because you don't have issues.
Well, everyone at Princeton has issues.
I need to go to CPS. I don't know know, I just feel like going to a school like Princeton's pretty emotionally draining, and I don't react well to emotionally draining environments, especially when I'm miserable. I'm just kidding. This is a professional interview.
No, this is Unfiltered.
Okay, unfiltered interview.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've just been like going through a lot this year, and I feel like there's a lot of resources on campus that I could have used to help me, but I've just like consciously not used them because I think I'm above that, or I think that I don't have enough time.
I mean, obviously being an African American male, like at a PWI, I went to a PWI high school. So obviously that goes without saying that you're gonna have mental struggles with that, just because I feel like sometimes I might have to protest as a means of identification.
Okay, so what? Like someone has a PhD in like helping others.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does that matter? Like, why can't you just talk?
My dad has a PhD and he can't help me, so I'm just kidding. That's like, I know all of these things, but I still like feel like CPS wouldn't be as good of a use of my time as like doing my homework and getting rid of my, like most of my problems revolve around like schoolwork and stress and time management. And I'm like, why would I go to CPS to take up more time on my schedule when I can just get shit done?
I've struggled with eating disorders my whole life.
Okay, all right. So it's your whole life. It's not something that just happened at Princeton.
Well, I mean, I started like 7th grade.
I see. How was your experience?
It's been really good so far, but in the beginning of the year, I knew I really needed help, so I kept making appointments, and it was about 2 weeks in advance, and then I would second guess myself, and then cancel in the meantime, so I didn't really go until like 2 weeks ago.
I started using CPS last year, and I've been continuing to use it this year, and I think it's been really helpful for me.
I use CPS in a non-exciting way where I was like, hi, I'm fine right now. I just would like I use them for like a referral out. But actually, CPS really like dubbed me for a little while. She stopped working at CPS and never got back to me, so then I went back to CPS like 3 months later being like, hey, and then it worked.
So there's an increase in people turning to help and resources to deal with mental health issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's because more people develop mental illness, or because there is less of a stigma?
No, if anything, there's less mental illness now.
I think it's a mixture of both.
There's definitely a lot more drive to like achieve certain things, and there's a more defined path of success.
I don't know. No, I just definitely feel like it's like less stigmatized. Like the more we talk about it like this, the more you interview strangers at late meal, the more the topic is known about.
My opinion might be a bit controversial, but I think people sometimes overdiagnose themselves, misdiagnose themselves. Either way, it's important to talk to anyone about feelings that you're having.
I think the stigma is going down, thankfully. I also think it's just maybe a general trend of people recognizing and people actively seeking help, and it's no shame. There's no shame in seeking help. We all need help when we can get it.
So I think both. I think that we're like a very anxious generation. This is a generation that people, all of the stress and all of the pressure and because there's so much information going at us all the time, I think all of that gets kind of channeled into feeling anxiety.
Growing up in like, I guess an Asian household has anything to do with it as compared to someone who, grew up in like a non-Asian household?
There was like a point in high school where I was super depressed, and like I wanted to do counseling. My mom was like, oh no, you don't need it. It's like, it's only for like people with real issues. You don't have real issues.
Definitely. They don't exist.
Yeah, they don't exist.
This is not a joke. This is reality.
I know, bitch. I know.
Okay.
I'm Turkish.
Like for instance, in my family, like depression may not be a thing. Like it's kind of like you're encouraged to fight through it.
I definitely feel like emotional mental issues don't exist, and it's just a me problem based on my culture. But I know that that's not reality.
Like you don't talk about it, like people who experience it aren't quote unquote normal.
My parents have been really good about it, but this is all very recent. Before, I remember I was young and I was feeling very anxious. I had some panic attacks, and I think my mom said like, no daughter of mine has this illness. Like, you're fine, you're just stressed. And it's like when someone kind of like makes you feel like your feelings aren't valid, like that's really dangerous.
I went to a high school where the girls would be like, and like, would just be at lunch and being like, oh, they'd be like, Thera later today, and like they're talking about therapy, but they were like beautiful, amazing girls, even though they're using like a gross shortening of a word, but they would just be, it was like that, it was just like so, kind of not that a big deal.
So what can Princeton do to, I guess, alleviate the mental illness on campus? Like, could they do it through the resources or like the curriculum or academic? Like, what do you think Princeton can do?
Like calm the academics down, but I don't think that's feasible. Like I don't think that will happen.
Get more people to help people. I don't know.
Wow.
If we get more PhD certified mental health professionals, we will have less wait time. Correlation.
More funding, more therapists. We need it. We have the money. We should get more therapists. We need to get more therapists.
Ice cream.
I think this school needs to put its money where its mouth is.
We had an amazing study break tonight. Great, free cotton candy for all. Well, what about mental health? How about physical health? How about America's getting big? And on health, I just really need to go to the gym. Maybe that's why I'm projecting.
Oh, I know. I was impressed at how Princeton did talking about CPS at the very beginning of the year. Like we come into orientation, they're like, please know all the tools that we have to offer you. But when a number of hugely traumatic events happened outside of Princeton's walls, like the Las Vegas shooting, or like Trump threatening North Korea, or like all of these different things, all of this stuff going on with DACA, like no mention of CPS, no emails from the administration. They want you to know that all the resources are available to you when it's convenient for them to tell you. Like we have got to stop thanking Princeton for like letting us be here and actually implicate them in like the decisions that they make. And like Princeton is all about like asking the hard questions. If you're sitting in a precept and you're being graded on it, the fact that we had gun violence right off campus, there were tons of students who were nearby and could have gotten hurt and were freaked out after the incident. Like you should make speeches about the implication of the school and all of these things.
Administration is like, mental health this, mental health that. Come on, apply to Princeton. We're the best school. And then when you actually come here, you're like, oh, they actually don't give a fuck?